Meeting of Tuesday, August the 4th. Thank you all for being here tonight and watching at home on TV. Mr. Baines, would you call the roll?
Yes, sir. Dr. Orr. Here. Dr. Lemon. No. Mr. Hudson.
Here.
Mr. Crisco.
Here.
Mr. Nicosa.
Here.
Ms. Hanson.
Here.
Mr. Bonneville.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. All that are able, will you please rise for the invocation and the Pledge of Allegiance by Pastor Mike Lawhorn of United Baptist Church, and then Miss Kate Hunter, the 2026 Daffodil Festival Junior Miss. Is the pastor not here? Mr. Hudson? So we will, Mr. Lawhorn evidently cannot make it this evening, so we will have the Honorable Chris Hudson of the Gloucester Point District lead us in our invocation.
Let's pray. Heavenly Father, as we gather tonight to go over the county's business, let us be mindful of all the situations and the repercussions that come with them. Let us support the first responders, the military, and also please pray for the teachers that are getting ready to start school this month. For it's in your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Hudson, for stepping up on very short notice, because you knew about the same time I did that I was going to ask you to do that. Next up, we have approval of the minutes from March 30, April 7th, and April the 13th. We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Next, we have the adoption of the agenda. Is there a motion? We have a motion. Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Seeing no further discussion, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Excuse me. Next, we have approval of the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved.
We have a motion. We have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Matters presented by the board. Okay. I have one. I actually didn't get a chance to send an email out to my fellow board members, but I did talk to Ms. Christine Joyce today. The information is back for the bids on the forensic audit. We have in our consent agenda, we had a update to our meeting calendar, adding Monday, August the 10th as a meeting day for a closed session. When we meet, we will begin the discussions for the RFP information back from that. We will probably select a committee to go through those and bring back to the board the recommendation for who to move forward with, hopefully at our first meeting in September, based on that. I believe she told me there were 15 responses back for the RFP that we will look at. So a very good number, but I wanted to make everyone aware that that's where we stand with that. Any other matters presented by the board? Seeing none, Mr. Baines, County Administrator.
Thank you, sir. Got a couple of them. One is this last weekend we had the food truck frenzy down at the old Page site, and from all accounts it went very well. Not only were the trucks there, but they had other activities for both the families and the children. This coming weekend we had the Preparedness Expo at Home Depot. We'll have all types of people there to help families get prepared as we are in hurricane season. We received a nice thank you letter from the Gloucester Matthews Care Clinic for the donation we provided them this year. We also have several positions that we have now put out there. One of them was the joint engineer. It went out today onto the internet for advertisements of the joint engineers out there. And we also have well, I guess I'll end with that. But those are the things that are happening right now that we've got that are going on. If there's any questions, just let me know.
Yes, sir. Any questions for Mr. Baines? Okay, we have no scheduled presentation. I will now open the floor to or public comment period. Please come forward, state your name, your magisterial district, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
Good evening. I'm Denise Mosca. I'm in the JJ's district, Abingdon. I'm the chairman of your Clean and Green Committee, and I wanted to highlight some points from the tree preservation letter that I sent out recently. We sent out from the committee. Trees do so much inexpensively that we typically overlook all the benefits. They lead to higher property values. I have a bunch of handouts that
We have them.
They lead to higher property values, better health, lower utility costs through a reduction in peak summer temperatures, less flooding, water quality improvement. And I saw a statement, just 3 strategically placed trees on a lot can reduce energy bills by 50%. We generally accept that planting oysters improves water quality in an environmentally friendly, inexpensive way, and trees also provide many similar natural, cost-effective benefits. A Hampton Roads Planning District Commission performed a climate action plan to reduce greenhouse gases, and agriculture and natural land sector was identified by the plan as one of the 3 top drivers of emission reduction, and this is one sector in which Gloucester can most easily address. The plan lists state and federal funding available in order to implement these practices, and states, among other sources, that additional support may be available through green banks, philanthropic organizations, and public-private partnerships. Forest carbon projects can be developed for localities to generate credits that offset others that can be sold on the voluntary carbon market to fund increased tree canopy and provide for its maintenance. And I did several Google searches, and it was pretty impressive. I got some information. Gloucester can primarily generate nature-based carbon credits through forest management, agricultural soil practices, and coastal blue carbon ecosystems. And there was one in very professional looking. Google printed out for me municipal feasibility review. I marked across the top that it was AI generated, and I don't have any handle on, the verity of the information in it, but it was very informative. Improved forest management, changing woodland practices to increase carbon storage is the most common forest offset approach in Virginia. And the Google search that I did was, can Gloucester generate carbon credits for Beaver Dam Park?
Ms. Mosca, may I have just 1 second?
Okay.
Mr. Chair, Ms. Mosca is the chair of your Clean and Green Committee. She really could have been under presentations and not citizen comment. So could she have some more few minutes?
I'm going to allow her to finish, absolutely.
Thank you. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I won't be much longer, I don't think. One of the ways to generate credits I thought was interesting, blue carbon and coastal credits. And Dr. Orth knows a little bit about the submerged aquatic vegetation that can be inventoried to generate carbon credits. Now, this year, the General Assembly passed House Bill 549 to allow localities flexibility to increase tree canopy replacement. And the supervisors should exercise this authority to revise the county ordinance to allow consideration of tree replacement and preservation based on local criteria, the types of development, to develop and maintain increased county tree coverage. Over a 7-year period, we've lost over 500 trees in the county, and this was tabulated before we've taken the toll off the bridge. So it's probably, the momentum is probably increasing now. So we really should take further steps. We do a very good job at protecting the resource protection areas, and the resource management area is the rest of the county. And as the whole county is a Chesapeake Bay preservation area, because all the rivers and creeks and marshland makes it impossible to say that any one place in the county didn't contribute to runoff in the bay. So because of the criticality of the entire ecosystem, the RMA areas must also rate additional protections. Thank you.
I want to make can I make a comment? Please. Thank for all the work you're doing for the Clean and Green. But it's interesting. I've been watching the temperatures at my house, which is surrounded by trees. My temperature around the house has been 10 to 15 degrees cooler than in the sun. So they really make a huge difference in keeping my house cool. So the points are well taken. Thank you.
Anybody else wishing to come forward and speak this evening?
Good afternoon, I'm Taylor. I'm not sure which district I'm in. Taylor Helm, sorry. Live right down the road, right near the courthouse. I'd like to sincerely thank the chair and all the members of the board for taking time away from your families to serve our county. Sincerely, thank you guys. Here to speak my voice on the objection to flock and the flock safety cameras in Gloucester County. If I get a little fired up, it's just because I love Virginia, so, nothing against anybody here. So, the Constitution of Virginia states, a summarized version would be the search of suggested places without evidence of fact committed or whose offense is not particularly described and supported by evidence are grievous and oppressive and ought not to be granted. Today I drove under the lens of 62 flock cameras on my regular commute to and from work in Hampton, Virginia. And regular people are trapped in the indiscriminate and warrantless dragnet surveillance of anyone and everyone driving in our area. So, bottom line, big thing that gets brought up to this stuff is everybody I know says, oh, I don't like it, but safety, right? And shout out to our law enforcement. Sorry if I'm being disrespectful, but our law enforcement does a great job. Safety is a topic that's used to infringe on other rights like the Second Amendment or even free speech in other countries. And I'd like to say our Fourth Amendment right is not negotiable. Bottom line is Flock is a business and will use shady data with skewed statistics to sell their products to those who are too lazy to look past a sales pitch. It promotes automated over-policing and takes away from the personable actions of our brave men and women of law enforcement. And I didn't write this with AI. I took my time and thought about it. If you want a copy, I'll leave them right here. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to come forward tonight? Ms. Cronin, do we have any phone in or emails?
Yes, Mr. Chair, thank you. From Philip Howell on Cow Creek Pond to the Gloucester County Board of Supervisors, subject severe constitutional, financial, and data sovereignty concerns regarding automated camera networks. I'm writing as a resident of Gloucester County to formally submit my public comments regarding the county's recent deployment and expansion of automated law enforcement camera networks, including the photo speed enforcement program and automated license plate readers. While public safety is a priority we all share, the outsourcing of law enforcement to automated surveillance systems raises critical constitutional, financial, and procedural issues that must be addressed immediately by this board. As a former law enforcement officer and a veteran of both the United States Air Force and the United States Navy Reserves, I have spent my life defending the laws and constitutional rights of our citizens. It is from this perspective that I request the Board of Supervisors address and implement binding policy on the following 4 fronts. 1, constitutional violations of the 4th and 6th Amendments. Fourth Amendment infringement, the deployment of networks like ALPR and automated speed tracking continuously monitors, logs, and indexes the movements of law-abiding citizens without individualized reasonable suspicion or a judicial warrant. Mass collection of location data fundamentally undermines our right to be secure against unreasonable searches. Sixth Amendment infringement, automated citations issued via third-party mailing severely degrade a citizen's right to confrontation. A machine cannot be cross-examined in a court of law, and shifting the burden of proof to the registered vehicle owner to prove their innocence upends core tenets of American jurisprudence. 2, strict data sovereignty and 21-day mandatory purge. Prohibition on external sharing. The Gloucester County Sheriff's Office must be explicitly prohibited from sharing, exporting, or linking any data, imagery, metadata, or license plate logs captured by these systems outside of Gloucester County borders. The 21-day complete eradication, any and all data captured by these surveillance networks that does not directly result in a verified active criminal investigation or citation must be completely and irreversibly erased from all databases within 21 days of capture. Third-party vendor restrictions, private out-of-state hardware and software technology vendors must be contractually and legally barred from maintaining, retaining, or sharing any data acquired through Gloucester County cameras. Private corporations have no right to build tracking databases or profit from the movement logs of our citizens. 3, financial accounting and board voting requirements. Public revenue auditing. There must be a full, transparent public accounting of all fine profits generated by these camera systems. We require clear visibility into how much revenue is being collected, what percentage is being sent out of state to private technology vendors, and exactly how the remaining funds are allocated within the Sheriff's Office budget. Mandatory board approval. The Sheriff's Office should be explicitly barred from spending or earmarking any fine revenues generated by automated camera systems without a formal public line item vote and approval by the Board of Supervisors. Traffic enforcement should never become an autonomous, self-funding revenue loop for law enforcement. 4, independent oversight and expansion freeze. Oversight committee development. The board must develop and implement an independent citizen oversight committee to monitor local surveillance technologies, review data access logs, and, I'm sorry, you want me to finish?
How much more is it? No.
About a
You can
paragraph?
just share that with the board.
Okay.
I think it's 3 minutes.
Second comment from Rick Kidd in Hayes. Page property, selling this property is a mistake. Should be kept for public use. Make it a park. Has infrastructure for different uses. Dog park, pickleball, football, field hockey, county events. Should be made as a welcoming center to Gloucester County. Once sold, it's gone. Think about public services for the county. Sincerely, Rick Kidd. Those are all the comments, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. One last call for anybody sitting out tonight.
Good evening. My name is Isaac White. I also don't remember what district I'm part of, but live in Gloucester and North Gloucester. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for all you guys do. It's a difficult thing being local government. Your neighbors have a lot of strong emotions and opinions. I just like to say as well what Taylor said. He voiced it very well, but I work in public safety, and I have the honor of working with a lot of law enforcement. And those that work in that field I don't think I've met one person that hasn't expressed concerns and some fears about flock cameras. I understand the appeal to it. It lessens the friction that law enforcement has with the public, but that face you put to law enforcement is part of the beauty of it. It can be dangerous, I understand. But taking away the face that your neighbor, someone you know that works in law enforcement, makes the local government just feel like an oppressive force above you. And we've seen what that can be. I'm not speaking out against the nation of China, but I hope that doesn't go anywhere near. We don't go where they are at all. Yeah, I like to keep law directly with a face, to have a conversation with those that are making sure that our streets are safe. So I appreciate you all, and thank you for the opportunity.
Anyone else? Seeing no one else, we will now move on to our public hearing that is scheduled for tonight. We have a public hearing to consider a conditional use permit application for Stevenson Child Care. Ms. Ann Ducey Ortiz, Director of Planning, Zoning, and Environmental Programs.
Good evening. I have a presentation that Trip Little in my office prepared. I'm going to go through it rather quickly because I think everyone's pretty familiar with this application and this project. As you recall, we added daycare centers as a conditional use in the single-family zoning recently in February with a code amendment, and that now we have the application for Stevenson's to go through the CUP process. So we held, as you know, we were required to have mandatory pre-application meetings. So we met with the applicant to discuss his project. And again, he completed the application and provided all the materials to the county, and it was transmitted to the Planning Commission in May. Sorry, the clicker's not working. The project is located on Powhatan Drive, right next to the Abington Elementary School. It's in yellow, the yellow star on the screen there. The area, again, is all surrounded by single-family zoning. It's B1 along 17, and there is a multifamily mobile home park to the lower right. But as you recall, we kind of discussed it, rezoning, but it would have been spot zoning. So the idea was to add this use as a conditional use to the single-family. And the purpose of the single-family is to preserve residential areas and to provide for future similar type of character. It allows for infill development, but it also talks about allowing other uses such as schools, parks, and churches, and other public facilities to serve the residents of the district. So that's really where the idea for a child care, daycare came in. So this is a plan of the property. Again, the idea is to use it the way it was used previously. As you recall, it was a daycare since the 70s. During COVID, they went out of business, and they didn't renew their business license, and it's been out of use for several years, and the applicant is hoping to be able to reestablish that use. And again, when we did the countywide rezoning, we didn't include this use as a permitted use in the single family, which is why we needed to do the code amendment. This is very consistent with the comprehensive plan. This area in our plan is called for mixed density residential, which, sorry, the clicker, I'm sorry, I'm having issues with the clicker. And here's a blow up of the area. It's shown in brown there as mixed residential. The red is the village core areas. When we did our, so the future land use plan talks about it as mixed density residential, but when we did our Gloucester Point Hayes plan, we actually looked at this area as a future, as part of our UDA, our urban development areas. And the red core area is kind of the areas that we want to be developed as higher density. The yellow is the transitional area between the higher density and the more commercial, and then the green is residential stabilization. So this use is very consistent with the comprehensive plan, as talked about on this slide. So at the bottom it says to serve as an ideal location for small shops, restaurants, and offices that primarily serve residences around them. This is a picture of the building as it currently looks. You know, hopefully when a new tenant comes in, they'll fix it up a little, but essentially they're not proposing any significant changes to the site. So again, they're requesting to reestablish the daycare facility. They are proposing hours of operations from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m., mostly indoor area activity, but there is an outdoor play area, and again, to maintain the current layout. So there are, as you know, 7 approval criteria, which are all outlined in the staff report and have been met by this application. Staff is recommending that the application be approved. Basically, it's consistent with the intent of the zoning district. The proposed use would reestablish a use that has served the residents of the community for several decades. It's consistent with the future land use plan, consistent with the character of the neighborhood, and it's in keeping with the development district's stated purpose of providing utility services and employment near primary population centers. The Planning Commission held their public hearing. We had no comments other than those in support, and they voted to send this to you with a recommendation for approval. Their staff worked with the applicant on proposed conditions, mainly related to the current access to stay the same. If they make any changes, they would have to meet the requirements for VDOT. Again, the hours of operation 7 to 6. Based on the current plan, they will not need a site plan, but if they do need to make changes, they would need to do a site plan. They need to get a zoning permit and work with the building department if there are any modifications needed based on the current building code. Currently, it is buffered with a wooded perimeter, so that would remain. Again, if they need to change that, then they would just have to comply with the buffer requirements in our ordinance. And then signage would have to comply with the sign ordinance. Waste disposal, they currently don't show any on the plan, so they'd have arrangements for pickup and waste management that wouldn't create any additional noise or odor impacts. And then parking would meet our current parking ordinance. It looks that it will meet our current parking ordinance without having to add any additional parking. So as you know, you can hear from the public. These conditions are those proposed by the Staff and Planning Commission, but the board can add any conditions they feel are necessary after they hear from the public. So that's the end of my presentation. The applicant is here if you have any questions. He doesn't propose to say anything, but he is here if you have any questions for him.
Any questions of the applicant or Ms. Ducey Ortiz before we open up the public hearing? Seeing none, we'll open the public hearing for comments. Do we have any via email or phone, Ms. Cronin, for this? Okay. Okay. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing and open it up for board discussion. I'm just trying to get to the... Yep, I'm just trying to get back to it. I didn't go back far enough. Before us on page 71, there is a resolution for approval for a conditional use permit, 26 CUP-26-004 for a child care day center. We have a motion. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Certainly. Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Ward? Yes. Yep, it passes.
Thank you. Yep, thank you. We will now move into our regular agenda, which will be consideration of proposed water and sewer revenue bond financing and request for public hearing. Ms. Katie Legg, Director of Public Utilities, and Ted Cole, Senior Vice President, Davenport and Company.
Hi, good evening. I came to you several times during the budget process about capital improvement projects and a mechanism on how to fund those. So I have here tonight for you Ted Cole with Davenport, who will go over financing options. We being you all, opted several months ago not to go out for formal bank RFP, but instead he has brought forward some generalized borrowing information from banks as well as what the VRA financing options look like. So he has a presentation. Of course, I'm happy to answer questions at any time.
Thank you, Ms. Legg.
Hey, good evening. If anybody would like a hard copy of what's on the screen, I have those. Happy to pass them out afterwards. So I think we'll jump right in. That was a good introduction. I guess.
And, it's in there? Oh, it's in there.
There we go. Okay.
You're here so often, we should give you your own.
Pardon me?
You're here so often, you should have your own.
Yeah, I should have it on my phone or something. Yeah. A quick recap on some projects that are in play for financing. It's a little over $8 million that have been identified. You can see there 11 projects. Happy to try to answer questions, or I'm sure Katie can. And as she alluded, the work that we've done historically on the modeling of the utility system anticipated debt financing for some projects, cash funding of other projects. This is consistent with that modeling, and we are working towards getting a process set up to revisit that entire model and bring that more current. But this is consistent, and our financing historically has either been for utilities a bank loan or participation in one of the state programs called the Virginia Resources Authority. Unlike the financing that we just closed for the fire station, this type of debt would be secured by the revenues of the water and sewer system. So it would not be secured by county taxes or a facility, a mortgage. It would be secured by the revenues derived from water and sewer operations. So it's a revenue bond, and you have issued those before. And we do that under the second bullet from the bottom. We do that under what's called a master trust indenture that we set up in 2025. And if we were to move forward with this borrowing, it would be also under what we call the second supplemental indenture of trust. And those really just lay out all the details surrounding the debt, what's securing the debt, again, revenues of the water sewer system, and other do's and don'ts associated with the revenue bonds. Two primary sources, and you all are very familiar with both of these. The county has participated in VRA before. They issue bonds 3 times a year. And what we are identifying is potential participation in their fall pool, where you and a number of other Virginia local governments would be in a pool financing. VRA, which is rated AAA by virtue of being a state entity, would go out and sell bonds on behalf of the pool at very attractive interest rates because of their high rating, and they would in turn fund all those local loans from these local governments that applied to be a part of that pool. And they've been functioning in that way for many, many years, and again, you've used them before. The direct bank loan would look a lot like the financing that we just closed with the fire station. We could solicit proposals from banks. Probably the biggest difference between the two right now is, one, the interest rate, which I'm going to cover for you in a moment. And then importantly for the utilities, the term of the debt. Banks oftentimes will cap their amortization or their term to 20 years. Every once in a while, you'll find a bank that might go further out than 20 years with a fixed rate, but it's historically been pretty infrequent that we get those proposals, and they're typically not terribly competitive. Whereas VRA, by virtue of how they sell bonds, they regularly have 30-year debt, again, fixed rate debt, that they're able to secure because they actually sell bonds to the bond market rather than selling to an individual lender like a bank. That's probably the biggest difference. The processes for issuing the debt are pretty similar. The approvals that would be necessary from the county board are similar, and the security is similar, meaning, the revenues of the system. Real high level, just talking a little bit about the process for issuing debt with a bank versus VRA, a little bit about the timeline that it takes, maximum term, I've covered that. Typically we can lock in interest rates with banks 30 to 45 days before we close, where with VRA it's a little bit closer to 2 to 3 weeks before we close. So there could be an opportunity to lock an interest rate with a bank a little bit earlier than you would with VRA, but you're going to see here in a moment there's a pretty significant difference between current market interest rates between banks and VRA. Ratings would not be required for a bank. If you go through VRA, they get a rating. VRA is a rated entity. There's no local bond rating necessary, nor is there any offering documents that you all would need to be preparing. They would do that. And then you can see sort of the entities involved in a typical financing. You do, when you go through VRA, you do cover your share of their cost of issuance, right? So they have consultants that they work with, they have ratings, and in the pool program, there's a allocation of the VRA level costs that are spread out amongst the participants, and we've got a pretty good estimate of what that would be. Apologize for the small print here, but what we've got up there at the top is column B and C are two different bank estimates, what we call a low estimate of 4.5% and a higher estimate of 5%. We just closed a loan, I think it was a 4.64%, so we were closer to the low end. But that rate range from banks is what we would expect to get if we were to do an RFP, and those are both for 20 years. Again, the max that most banks would be willing to go. And then we've run on columns D, E, and F, VRA option 20, 25, and 30 years. Again, much more conducive to doing longer term financing. And you can see on current market interest rates there on line 8 for VRA, 20-year at 380, 25-year a little over 4, and a 30-year at 420. So there is a pretty big difference in the interest rates between those options. In all of these scenarios, we're delivering to the county line 14 a little over $8 million to fund the project. So they're all set up under the same assumptions for the funding you would need or request. Local cost of issuance placeholder is layered in on line 15. That's uniform across. And then under the VRA options, you'll see there are some additional costs associated with participating in their program. And again, that's the allocation that you would have for their costs. This is an estimate, but I think it's a pretty reasonable estimate. And then what we've done is we've just shown you what the fiscal year debt service would be for any one of those options. Debt service would begin in fiscal 27. It would not be a full year payment. It would be a partial payment. And I believe all of those numbers are consistent with what was included in the budget. So fiscal 27 payments that we're showing you here in the $170,000 range were contemplated in your 2027 budget. So you go all the way down to the bottom and you can begin to compare the total principal and interest paid back over the life of the loan, again, whether it's 20, 25, or 30 years, and you can see the differential between the banks and VRA. That little green box at the bottom on line 54, it says 55 BPS, that's basis points. What that is saying is that VRA option for 20 years, which has a lower interest rate than the banks, rates could go up in the bond market by 0.55%, a 0.5%, before VRA and the bank would be equal to one another. So there's a bit of room for rates to go higher even under the VRA option before VRA and the low estimate for the bank would be equal to one another. And that's important because with a bank, I think we could get bank proposals back in about 3 or 4 weeks and potentially lock that rate in late August, early September, whereas with VRA, under their calendar, we will not be able to lock their interest rate until October 27th. So we've got all of August, all of September, all of October, not quite 90 days before the VRA program would sell their bonds. That's going to happen on October 27th. You can see it on my calendar there. That is when the VRA program will set their interest rates. So we would be floating with the market between now and October 27th. We know we've got lower rates through VRA compared to the banks today. And I would expect over time, if rates go up, if rates go down, the banks and VRA will move roughly in line with one another. But we could be in a position to get a bank rate in early September, whereas we would have to wait till late October for VRA. So there is about a 50-day-ish potential gap between locking a rate with a bank and locking a rate with VRA. I think either option are appropriate for what you're trying to do, with the other caveat being if we think that these longer-term amortizations are more appropriate for the projects we're funding and importantly, the utility budget, rates and charges going forward 25 and 30 years, that's really going to push you to the VRA option. And I think in our conversations with staff, that's been the thinking, is longer term payback. We're talking about pipes and major infrastructure that certainly have an expected useful life of greater than 20 years. And so a lot of the modeling that we've done has been anticipating these longer term paybacks. But certainly, if there's a level of comfort of doing something 20 years or shorter, we could certainly consider doing a bank RFP. But I think given what we've discussed with recent rates and charges, additional capital projects that are out there for future consideration, these longer amortizations might be more affordable when you think about it from a rate and charges perspective. So what we're looking for is just a little bit of guidance from you all. We are submitting with Katie and staff a VRA application. It's a non-binding application. It's just about complete. That'll go in at the end of the week. It just preserves our place in that program. It does not commit you to going forward with that program, but it does allow us to consider to work these two options. What we're asking for this evening is to consider scheduling a public hearing for September 1st. That will be required regardless of which way you go. A public hearing is required for a revenue bond. There is a reimbursement resolution that I believe you all might consider that simply allows that should you do debt in the future for these projects, you could pay yourselves back for any cash that you've spent. It doesn't require that you do that, but it does preserve that option. And any feedback you all are in a position to give us today about bank versus VRA. As I said, applications are due August 7th. VRA will then go about doing their due diligence. They're familiar with Gloucester utilities. We don't expect any problems or issues in their due diligence. September 1st would be a meeting where you would hold the public hearing. Again, that is required either way. And if you would want us to have at that meeting a resolution for approving the financing, that would be available. Alternatively, we could also take care of that at the September 15th meeting. If VRA is the option, they would like to have local approvals wrapped up by September 18th. So either September 1 or September 15th would work for VRA. It certainly would work for a bank. If we went with a bank, we could close late September, early October. And finally, if we went with VRA, the bonds are sold on October 27th, your rates are locked in, and your money would be available mid-November. That's it. So I'm happy to answer questions or allow you all to discuss.
Any questions of Mr. Cole? Mr. Hudson. Ms. Legg, this is more directed to you. What was the estimated cost of the 1 million gallon storage tank?
With design, about 2.5 to 3 million.
I just don't like the idea of putting a design in for 20, 25, 30 years. I'd rather pay that some other way and have the 200,000 setting out elsewhere.
We can do that, but still with this amount of money, we can prioritize the project. So if next year you wanted me to put that in the budget as a CIP that's cash or otherwise, we could do that.
That's fine. I just don't like the idea of financing a study. Design.
Well, there are a few of those then in that project list because the cost of these projects in their entirety are so high that they were broken down into design phase versus construction. So, for example, the force main up the bypass, that $300,000 would be for study and design. And then the 1 million gallon, that should be it. All of these others, including Main Street, that $2 million includes design and construction of phase 1.
So 500. So 500,000 of the 8 million
Correct.
is going to be just design.
Correct. And so if that is something that you all would like to be paid out of operating, I would need further direction on how to fund that.
But I'm sure Ms. Lake has other projects that could still fill that $500,000 gap, so for the borrowing, it should be the
I
same.
have no issue filling a $500,000 gap in that borrowing. It's how to fund those design pieces.
Correct.
Design work on the 1 million gallon storage tank has begun. Very small amounts of money have been spent on it thus far, but we knew that it needed to be done. The force main up the bypass has not officially started yet. So if that is something that we needed to revisit, we can.
Okay. So the amount of money will stay the same. The project list may change.
And it could, and I believe that we write the documents that way, that we list out these projects, but also say to support, but not limited to, kind of thing. So you do have 2 resolutions in your packet. There is a reimbursement resolution that just allows us to pay ourselves back for those engineering and design costs that we might be incurring before we close. And then, of course, another resolution to authorize a public hearing next month.
Yes. So with that, we have a resolution on page 129 authorizing the public hearing to consider issuance of not to exceed $8.5 million for water and sewer revenue bonds. We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion? Seeing none, Ms. Hanson?
One question. Ms. Lake, do you happen to remember what the total amount that the water utilities was going to get with the increase in the food tax that was going to contribute to?
It was about $935,000.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. Any further questions? Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Orth? Resolution passes.
Good. Next, we have a resolution declaring the official intent of Gloucester County, Virginia to reimburse itself for certain capital expenditures related to the construction of certain projects with proceeds of debt. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Questions, comments? Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Orth? Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Resolution passes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, appreciate it. Any desire to provide some guidance on the funding mechanism, bank versus VRA? Would you like to solicit bank proposals? We'd like to proceed just with the VRA option.
I would think so, just the VRA. And looking at what you've provided so far, I don't see much of a need, honestly, to go past the 20-year mark so that we could turn this around and do some more borrowing it sooner rather than later, because I don't think there's a lot of, I mean, you're going to spend an extra $3 million, almost $3 million to get an extra 10 years of borrowing power when you could, I don't see the,
Slap it out in 20.
I don't see the reasoning to go much past the 20.
Ms. Lake, you go first.
It will be whether or not we can afford the annual payments.
Correct. Nope. But I mean, it's a,
Right.
The last round of borrowing, I believe the resolution said up to 25 years, up to a certain amount of money. And so then when it came time to lock in, we made that decision then.
that's fine. Yep, I'm fine with that. But yeah, no, VRA is fine.
Sounds good. Thank you all very much. We'll see you in September.
Yes, thank you. We'll get you your own clicker. We'll get it engraved.
I need one too.
Yes, you do. Okay, next up, we have a public utilities update. Ms. Katie Legg.
Okay. I'll be brief. Okay, that was supposed to be funnier. Okay, so I feel like it's actually been a little while since I've seen you, with only having one meeting in the summer months. So tonight I am going to touch on just 3 topics. We'll give you all a projects update, which encompasses ARPA-funded projects, FY26 and FY27 capital. Give you a very, very, very unaudited version of FY26 financials, and also an update on our personnel. So our ARPA projects, this is the list of them. Everything that is shaded in yellow has been complete. All of these projects total to about $1.5 million. So some of the highlights: the reverse osmosis skid, number 1, membrane replacement. That skid was inoperable for several years, so the membranes in there needed to be replaced. That was quite an undertaking, and the point of that is that we should be alternating the skids when we're using the RO plant, and we were only using skid number 2. Side note, we now find ourselves in that same position because we've replaced skid number 1, but not skid number 2 in quite some time, so that will need to be addressed. We've gotten some great equipment. A new slope mower for the dam. We've gotten a crash truck, so it is not something that we have to rent anymore. We have done pump replacement at the plant, upgrades, electrical and pipe and pump upgrades to pump station 14, which is there behind Tractor Supply. The Point Tower, which you all have heard me talk about for years at this point, that project is complete and operating as it should be. SCADA upgrades, also you have heard me mention this multiple times. This is sort of our step 1 of I'm not sure how many steps. When something is so old, like your computer, and you have to upgrade it to Windows 7 before you can get to Windows 10. We're at Windows 7. So this was our most expensive ARPA project, and they have just completed that phase 1. And then Pump Station 11 design, when ARPA dollars were doled out, originally $1 million or so was meant to fund the construction of Pump Station 11. And when I arrived, that project had just stalled, and even the design itself hadn't really occurred. So we reallocated some of those funds. We are getting closer to a final design with Pump Station 11. I've shared with you all in weekly reports the discussions that we've had ad nauseum with HRSD and the direction that we are moving.
Just so the public knows, Pump Station 11 is located where?
On Route 14, at the bottom of that hill,
Just
across from Ace Hardware.
making sure everyone knows.
Yes.
Because I do know where 11 and 14 are, because we talk about them enough that I know, but it's still hard to remember where all of them are.
Yeah, so Pump Station 11 is in a flood zone.
Yes. Dr. Orth, do you have a question?
Ms. Lake, just to make sure that we're clear, these projects are all being funded with the remaining funds from ARPA, right?
Correct.
This basically spends out all the ARPA funds, of which we had spent money in earlier years for a lot of other stuff.
Right.
Well, to help you.
There were unspent funds from various other departments, and so they were all reallocated to utilities, and I worked with Mr. Wilmot's office to get those approved and make sure that we could quickly
Spend out before the time.
Right. So the
ran out.
spend down date is December 31st of this year. So we're at about maybe $50,000 left. So I feel good about that. So some pictures. So when I talk about SCADA, this is the main supervisory control panel in the surface water plant. This receives signals for pH, chlorine, turbidity, flow, head loss. This all comes from our raw water meters, pre-filtered and finished water meters. It also has some manual controls for some water pumps. You can see this was sort of that bottom middle picture. You can see this, it looks like a closet that you step into, wires everywhere, outdated modules. It was a mess. And this is what we have now. This was one piece of that SCADA project. There were other pieces that took place in the RO plant. But you can actually see the footprint of the old one with that bigger slab there. It's now a much cleaner, sleeker look, all updated controls, and there's room for more. So I know that the operators are very, very happy with this. So FY26 CIP projects, we've got AMI, we have an AMI, that project began before I came to the department, and it has been it's been a struggle a little bit to get that fully up and running, and we are almost there, and I have some pictures on the next couple of slides, so I'll show you how great of a system this actually is for our staff. VIPD's outfall compliance, this is the Spillway Tower project. Forest Hill water line extension, this is, right now the status of that is the design is pretty much done. We are now in the process of contacting property owners in order to acquire easements. This is very, very slow going. It's a lot of commercial properties there that you have to find your way through corporate. The motor control center, which operates the pumps in the pump gallery, that project is coming along. We knew this one would take some time, about 1 to 1.5 years, just because of equipment lead time. I expect that we probably have about another 9 months or so to go, but everything is moving on track with that. The filter media replacement, we are receiving submittals from the contractor, so that is on schedule. The raw water intake pump upgrade is in design and will hopefully be installed by the end of this fiscal year. And pump station upgrades, again, this was supposed to include pump station 11, so we're still working through all of that. All of these projects have a carry forward into FY27. Some of them were adopted as part of the FY27 budget. Some you will hear are part of the appropriation later this evening. So some more pictures. So AMI, this is a Clara. This is our dashboard. This is what the staff see in the office. And it has some really cool features for us. So it tells us every day what the daily consumption was the day before. So we can look at that and go, oh my gosh, are we seeing something out of the ordinary? We can see the read success rate. So this tells us how successful all of the data collector units are reading the meters. 98.7 sounds really good. When it hits 98% or less for 3 days in a row, they send someone out. The contractor sends someone out to figure out what's wrong, because anything less than 98% is not okay. And then, of course, it tells us abnormal usage, and you can see there in the middle of the screen these color codes. So we have parameters set up in our office so that staff are notified for critical events, severe events, warning, etc. So if you look at meter, critical events says 63. About half of those are reading issues. So it just means it's pulled a meter and it didn't get a reading. And so it has clicked it as critical. So we just keep an eye on that. The other half are usually continuous consumption or a high consumption trigger. So what our staff will do is they can look at those, each one of those meters, figure out which account it goes to. We can go into our billing software and look, and if someone has, say, a pool, we ask people to let us know if they have a pool, because then we flag their account. So when we see something like this, we don't automatically think there's a leak. Now, if we see a spike like this in December, chances are you're not filling your pool, but it has helped cut down on some of those unnecessary scares to some of our customers. And then all those little markers on the map just match to those warning events in the middle. And so, you know, staff can just click on one and it'll take you right to it. So this is what it looks like when we go into someone's account. Well, a very small piece of it. So that top left picture is daily consumption for an account for a month. So you can see that huge spike in the beginning. This account has a pool. So we go in, we look at their account, sure enough, they have a pool. So, and you can see it has leveled out all of the rest of the days. So the bottom picture actually shows hourly consumption over the course of a week. Those high spikes, you always want to see the peaks and the valleys. Those high spikes you can see are right after gaps. So that is a spot where the DCU pole did not get data from the meter for a few hours, and then it caught up and it spiked like that. So we can go in and look at all of that and very easily tell, okay, this is not a leak. And the reason we know this is because you see all of those dots that go all the way down to the bottom axis. That's exactly what you expect to see when no one is home, when people are sleeping, when there is no water consumption. We can tell when someone has a toilet leak. So if someone calls us and says, my bill is too high, do I have a leak or whatever, we can go into their account and look and say, we can tell you, did you do laundry at this time because we see this amount of water usage. If we see 2 to 3 gallons in your overnight hours consistently, chances are you have a leak. And people don't quite realize how much a toilet can leak. So this has been really great for our staff. I've used it myself to go in and help customers if necessary. It's a really great tool. We do not have the customer-facing side out yet. One, because all of the information we still are not comfortable was correct for the customer. But 2, we knew that there was going to be a complete changeover in county software, and so waiting until we did all of that versus using our antiquated billing software. So we hope to get there, but for now, this works. We can export this and share it with customers. So FY27, not a whole lot to talk about with these projects. You just saw the list of them before when we were talking about debt financing. The Clements Gloucester water line, this project is actually has been designed. It was pretty much designed before I got here. We are giving it one final review just to make sure, and then we will be ready to bid that out. The next 4 projects are in some sort of design or conceptual phase. And then the 3 remaining ones in blue have not been started yet at all. Oh no, where are the rest of the pictures? Well, there's supposed to be 5 pictures on here, but that's okay. So one of the pictures that's missing is, all of these pictures are from Main Street repairs. And one of the ones that's missing is from the Thanksgiving weekend repair just this past year. And the cast iron pipe has this probably 8 to 10 inch just open gash in it. It's just disintegrated. This middle picture and then 2 others that you can't see are from the Main Street repair just last week at the intersection of Route 14. So a couple of things. One, every record we have says that our lines are cast iron. This is asbestos concrete. And you can see at where that coupling is, that line is crooked. And that is not a good situation for a force main. So additionally, there were taps that had been abandoned improperly. There are all sorts of joints on these. This section of Main Street is phase 2. So there's really no telling what we're going to find in phase 1 either. Phase 2 may get bumped up. And I'm sorry, all of those pictures didn't show. Okay, financials. It is not often that I get to say 3 good things in one slide. A reduction in expenses, revenue improvements, and fund balance looks better. I mean, it doesn't get much better than that, guys. Again, reminder, totally unaudited. Finance hasn't even really reviewed this, not with me. I'm sure they've looked at it, but not with me. This is just my work. So FY26 expenditures, the blue is the budgeted, the orange is actual, asterisk, of course, because it's unaudited. Existing debt service is exactly where I expected it to be. Our operating budget, which does not include personnel, was over by $53,000. That, considering what I have been telling you since about January, that is phenomenal. When I hold their feet to the fire and I say, you run every expenditure past me, and they do it. Personnel, we came in about $100,000 less. Capital, our savings are about $934,000. But this is mostly because we pulled almost all of the 560 for Forest Hill out of capital, because we will now be debt funding that. And then also our bond issuance costs were less than we had planned. So overall, our budget was 10.78 million and our actual was 9.8. From a revenue standpoint, the development fees and the application fees, they have that little asterisk because I've shared before that the FY26 budget was balanced using those revenues, and they should not be. So the development fund, we budgeted about $30,000 in revenue, and we ended up with $313,000. Application fees, we budgeted $82,000 and came in at $689,000. That was fantastic. So interest and other fees, nothing major. Use of fund balance, again, that reduction is because we will not be transferring the full amount from development fund for Forest Hill. Loan proceeds, again, lower bond issuance costs. Our billed usage charges. So we brought in, this is for water and sewer charges, we brought in $5.79 million, which went over by $95,000. So fund balance. You've seen this before. Last time I showed it to you, I think fund balance had, $23,000 in it. So this is actually a little more complicated. This is for the ease of reading this slide. So the balance at the end of last fiscal year, you can see at the top what the FY26 budget projected to use or budgeted to use in both funds, and what that left as a budgeted balance. So whereas before I brought this to you and said, I'm going to need to use more of this, now we're putting money back in. So we are looking at an unassigned fund balance of $464,000. Now, again, unaudited. And this is actually a little misleading because everything that is unspent in FY26 technically goes into unassigned fund balance, but then I'm going to come back and have it reappropriated. So just for the ease of the pluses and the minuses, I assumed that all of those reappropriations had already happened. So this takes into account all of those reappropriations that you'll consider later tonight. These numbers make me feel pretty good, better than it did anyway. And then my second to last slide, see, I said I was going to keep this short. So just an update on staffing. We currently have 4 funded vacancies. And then you see the 2 yellow boxes. We've got 2 operators, 2 our valve and hydrant team. Those were funded starting January of 27. Given how badly we need to inspect and exercise our valves and hydrants, what I have opted to do is start recruiting for those now and leave 2 of our other positions vacant. It takes some time to recruit anyway. So, here we are 1 month in and don't have any of those filled yet. In the red box is something that I had brought up to you before. This is a position that does not exist on our pay scale. It is not budgeted. It is not funded. And this is a line locator. So our utility inspector is one person, is responsible for all construction inspections, is responsible for all misutility locates. And on average, we're doing about 300 line locates a month. Also does a lot of GIS work, which is not really part of his job description, but he knows our system and he's able to make changes in it very easily. So what I have been working on is how to get this position into the budget sooner rather than later, especially if we start to see some of these subdivisions come online. This is definitely more than a one-person job. So filling positions is difficult. This is not unique to Gloucester. I will say that, you know, if you look at Newport News Waterworks, they have 35 jobs open in their waterworks department at any one time. So this is industry-wide. It is not specific to Gloucester. However, there are things that do play, that are an issue specific to Gloucester. Compensation is one. Recruitment is another. We are not, where we're located is not as easily accessible in some people's minds to make them want to just hop over here. So last fiscal year, earlier this calendar year, the county did a compensation study. It impacted a few of my people, and it did not seem like it was doing enough. So I did a separate compensation study, and I researched positions from our competition. I didn't want to look at similar localities because nobody has a utility department like ours. So I looked at James City, New Kent, and Newport News because that's who our folks are going to go to. I've shared before, my staff is recruited in the field, and they are recruited by private companies with double the salary in the field. Now, a lot of these guys might be a little bit younger and maybe not quite as aware of how attractive a benefits package is. So I think we need to do a better job of touting that. But it is really hard to compete with something like that. So I conducted this study, a lot of research and a lot of spreadsheets. And what I saw is that a lot of our field crew were paid about 20 to 30% less. I compared job descriptions, and then I compared actual employees. In March, we were able to take care of some of that, and some of those folks were able to be, their scale placement changed. So they increased about 5%. I have started to do another one of these because as it's a new fiscal year, some of these other localities have changed all of their scales as well. I have done this for now every position in utilities except for the director. And almost every position is 10 to 25% lower. Gloucester will never be the highest, and that's what I tell my staff all of the time. We don't need to be the highest, but we do need to be competitive. So these are things that I'm going to be looking at. I've mentioned this to admin, I've mentioned this to HR. It's really, really important. We know we advertised this valve and hydrant team, and I think we saw 600 people looked at it, and we had no applicants. That says to me that somebody has looked at a salary and went, nope. And our instrumentation position has been open since I got here. Has probably had 9,000 to 10,000 views and 9 applicants. So all of this to say is that I am still working on this, working and providing this information to HR and to admin because if we lose some of the resources that we have, we're going to be in dire straits. We have been a little bit lucky hiring some of our temp workers. That's worked out sometimes better than others. But it's tough. And as we expand or as new subdivisions or whatnot come on, it's only going to get harder. Maybe I should have ended on a good note. So.
Dr. Ward.
Yeah, well, first, thank you for that great presentation. I always enjoy them, and they're perfect for us. So a few questions. Number one, Route 14, that pipe, has that been resolved, or is that still exposed to the issues that we talked about before?
It is still exposed.
It is. I've been talking with VDOT.
When are we going to get VDOT to?
VDOT wanted us to sign a memo
that's
limiting
a disaster
their.
waiting to happen.
They want us to sign a memo limiting their liability to just the work they're going to do down there. So it's on my desk to ask our county attorney to make sure. I've taken it off their plate because it just, they want too much, but we know it's an issue. So we're going to sign a MOU with them, but I'm going to make sure the county attorney makes sure it covers us, not them.
Please, it needs to be resolved. Okay, water usage. I've passed the library hydrant and have seen numerous times a truck with two 5,000-gallon
Yes.
pipes there almost every day.
Yes.
Are we getting them billed on a monthly basis or what? How is that being determined?
Monthly. So those folks with a hydrant meter, they are required to submit their readings to us. They send us the pictures and then they get invoiced. So monthly, just like a regular customer.
Right.
And no, I have not finished the hydrant meter policy.
Don't worry, you've got enough on your plate. Okay, so it was mentioned about the 1% for the sales tax, for the food tax. I'm not sure how quickly we can get an update to see how close we are to approaching. I know it just started July 1st.
And I think it's 2 months.
It's about 2 months in arrears before we get
Right.
Okay.
that information.
It'd be great to, when we get to that point, to see where we are in that 1%, because I'm assuming you're putting that amount in your budget about, correct?
I believe that has already been transferred in from the general fund.
Oh, okay.
I will double check.
Okay, you've mentioned your workforce. How are you dealing with people who are close to retirement? Are there?
I'm ignoring it.
I'm hoping they don't.
Begging.
Because I know you've got a few people that are close.
I do.
They're
I do
really-
have a
they're
couple,
really good people.
not only in the field, but also in the office.
Okay.
And that institutional knowledge is key. From a field crew aspect, I think that we have folks internal who could move up if they want to. Not everybody wants that responsibility, which I understand. Of course, all that does is just leave a hole somewhere else.
Right.
In the office, one great thing is that we share so much information now. It used to be that folks were kind of in their own silo. Nobody knows what I do because then you can't get rid of me, kind of thing. But it's not like that anymore. So nothing specific except just hoping that they stay a little bit longer.
Yeah. Well, I know this is nothing regarding people looking for jobs. Does RCC have a program to try to train people in the utility areas? I mean, you would think that this workforce development, there would be something looking at, I mean, as you said, this is an issue that is just not local. It's region and nationwide.
I don't know about RCC. We did talk.
I know they do the CDL stuff because I was in the
Right.
truck.
Well, so CDL, we send our folks there to get a CDL license, and then they are recruited in class to go drive for someone else. Yeah, we really can't win. I know that we had some discussions about, the high school does a lot of things with the trades, especially over the summer. Our problem is that if they're under 18, the safety involved with our type of work and not having enough people to train them. But I will check into RCC because that I don't know.
That's all. And again, thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Dr. Orth, just to follow up on that, the succession planning is what I call it. We have multiple departments right now where we have people that are either just retired or retiring, that we lose a lot of that knowledge. So I've kind of asked the department heads to start to come up with a plan on how we do some knowledge transfer, because we are seeing that. As people retire, we're losing an awful lot of our knowledge, and it happens everywhere, but it's happening here in Gloucester right now. So that's one of the things that we've got going on. So you'll see us talking more about that.
Mr. Chairman.
Ms. Hanson?
Ms. Legg, since you've done so much research, might know the answer to this question. How much more would you think that you would need budgeted to increase the salaries to a point that would be comparative to and increase the hireability?
I'm so glad you asked. So I actually have this broken down into a critical need for some of the bigger gaps versus the entire department. Critical need, which also includes adding that extra position, is about $125,000. Taking care of all of the positions, we're probably looking at $225,000. We are a department of 30 2 now, or will be in January.
Katie, did the last number include the 125?
I'm sorry?
All positions, did that include the 125 also? Or
The
is it-
225 includes the 125,
Thank you.
yes.
All right.
You better go quick.
Did Kathy email you, text you those photographs of the person drawing water from the hydrant across from Wawa on Hickory Fork in 17?
No.
Okay, well, twice in the last few months, on Saturday or Sunday, I've observed a person with a huge 2 plastic tanks drawing water out of the hydrant at the vacant 7-Eleven catty-cornered from Wawa, the Wawa, at Hickory Fork in 17. Were they authorized to do that?
Not if they don't have a hydrant meter.
Well, it was a person, didn't have any logos, county stuff, just drawing water from the hydrant. So that would be theft, that would be criminal,
It
right?
would.
Okay, good. I look forward to prosecuting them. Kathy has a photograph of one of them. I'll ask her to text you that photograph.
That would be great.
And then I'll prosecute them.
Mr. Wilmot, it sounds like the truck that Dr. Orth was talking about had 2 tanks on the back, a white truck.
Right, so a lot of times, so the hydrant meter, it hooks right up to the fire hydrant and then they have a hose attached to it. Now, if you see someone who's just got the hydrant open and they're filling buckets, that is definitely theft.
Oh, no, it was a truck with 2 big plastic tanks.
That was probably a specific company, yes.
So they might have had permission.
They might, mm-hmm.
How would I know?
You can send it to me.
Okay.
If you take a picture of the hydrant, you should be able to see the actual device that measures water. It's pretty large.
Oh.
Yeah, I mean, I see that, when I go and see these trucks, I look very carefully.
A lot of people look and then they email me and have a lot of questions.
So we allow private people to draw water off hydrants?
We do,
Oh,
if they have a hydrant meter.
oh.
But nobody's watching.
That they report.
Sorry to
You
burst
have
your
you have
bubble.
to self-report. So each month you have to call up and go, hey guys, I used X amount of water, here's the proof.
Right. They have to send a picture of their meter.
I used to have to do it at Newport News Water Works. I did it for 15 years for a company I worked for.
Okay, well then, I'll ask Kathy to text you the photos, and then we can determine whether this person had a meter or not.
She's probably watching.
Her phone's going off right now as we speak.
Could you do that?
Probably is.
Thanks, sweetie.
So I do know that we have regulations on use of the development fund. Can we have those sent to us when next time you send us a report so that we can start looking? I mean, it's not a lot of money, but we just mentioned the studies or design phases, and those are, to me, those are development things, and if we need to adjust, because I think we could start using some of that for some of those and have that extra $500,000 or more.
I
do
believe it's one sentence in the code
Okay.
that just says for the expansion of the system as prescribed by the Board
Then
of
we may need
Supervisors.
to massage that
Right.
to work that out, but let's get working on that too, because Mr. Hudson made a good point about, I hate to spend 20-year money on something to design something.
Sure.
If we have this year, if we need to adjust that, we should.
And even though we're talking about the 1 cent meals tax, that money, again, with the borrowing, we've got to have a percentage that we keep on hand to be able to meet that. So that was part of what that was for, is to make sure we have our coverage for borrowing, but we certainly can look and see what else we can spend the money on.
Well, and it may be a balance, and we say, okay, if we're not going to use this $500,000 in debt, then we're just going to borrow less this time.
Potentially.
Because, thinking ahead, I don't know that we will be able to afford to borrow money next year.
Correct.
Which will give us a little bit of time to actually finish all of these things, but it does just move things down another year or longer.
Okay. Any other questions of Ms. Legg? Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Board members good? Do y'all want to? Okay, we'll keep going. So with that, we go to regular agenda item C, request for FY 2027 appropriations carryover and additional Ms. Sasi Wojcik Chief Financial Officer. And if I said that first name incorrectly, please correct me.
Yes, you did.
Thank
And
you.
this is my first time, presenting to the board. So, good evening. We would like to request board's approval to carry over the unspent FY 2026 appropriation to complete projects and initiatives previously approved by the Board of Supervisors but not completed as of June 30th, 2026. And I believe in your board book you have all the breakdowns of the funds. So general fund total will be 184,715. County grant fund is about 50,000. ARPA fund is 52,107. And capital projects fund is 338,447. And utilities fund is about $810,000. So Ms. Katie was mentioning the utility funds that would be carried over. So we request board's approval. So, the carryovers will allow the county to complete previously authorized projects and initiatives without affecting the funding designated for new FY 2027.
Any questions? Is there a motion for a resolution making the carryover and additional appropriations from page 157 of the board packet? We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
Dr. Orth?
Yes.
Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Thank
Motion
you.
passed.
Thank you. Okay, we move now to request for county public, from Gloucester County Public Schools for additional appropriation for state-approved compensation increase. Mr. Baines, I don't see.
Yes, sir.
Dr.
I don't
Baines.
see Dr. Valdu here, but this was a discussion we had during our budget process where we approved a budget that included a 3% increase in raises for the staff at the schools, but we only appropriated 2%. The state has come back and approved 4%. So none of the numbers that we anticipated, because of the way the state managed their budget, worked for us. But in discussions I've had with Dr. Valdu and Mr. Crisco has had, that if we appropriate the money that was already in the budget for that 1%, they'll find the other 1% in their budget this year by other savings. They'll cut other spending, and they're planning on giving all the staff, not just the teachers, the 4% raise. And that motion for the 549 is on page 160.
Correct.
If you have any questions, you're going to have to ask me.
Yes. And this is money that we actually allocated but did not appropriate.
Exactly. The budget's already shown it there, so this is just making sure we show it on the revenue side as well as on the expense side.
Is there a second? We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville? Yes. Dr. Orth? Yes. Mr. Hudson?
Guess I'll abstain.
What'd you say? I'm sorry.
He's abstaining.
Oh, abstaining. Okay, I'm sorry. And Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Abstain.
We have 4 for it, so it passes.
Correct.
You guys make my job hard here also. I figured that out.
Well, if you retire, you can sit there and track stuff for Katie.
All right, very good. We'll now move on to item E, discussion and decision on state-approved cost of living changes. Mr. Baines and Ms. Wojcik.
Thank you, and I'm going to take this one. We thank Sassy for being here for these. She and I have worked on this, and looking back, the state again appropriated for our constitutional officers and their staff a 3.5% COLA, and we provided a 2.8 to those same staff members. Well, the state will pay them, but the difficulty we have, and there's 3 different ways to seeing it. We just use the money the state gives us, and we only give the 3.5 to the state employees. Well, most of those departments also have county employees, like the sheriff's office. There's probably over a dozen of their deputies that are county versus state. They wouldn't get that increase. So we try not to look at that. We try to make all those departments whole. And in the past, our our way we've approved it is we do it for the entire county, so we don't have the have and the have-nots. Talking to Sassy and to the HR director, we feel the amount for this, and I say approximate because it depends on who we've got actually hired when all this stuff goes on, but it's approximately $170,000. So for $170,000, I can go ahead, and I'm just asking y'all for your consensus. I'm going to find that in the existing budget we have, but I'm going to go ahead and give all the employees that extra 0.7 here in February when it goes into effect for the state employees. So if I have y'all's consensus, I'm going to find that in our budget. Oh, I got to have y'all do a motion for that, but it's no resolution in here.
Okay. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Baines, would you pull the board?
Yes, sir. 162. Mr. Bonneville? Yes. Dr. Orth? Yes. Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
It passes.
All right, very good. Moving on to item F, we have a request for addition of utility vehicle use from Riverwatch Homeowners Association. Mr. Brian Lewis, Director of Engineering.
Good evening, everyone. I'm here tonight, as you said, to talk about the addition of possible addition of utility vehicles to the Riverwatch Homeowners Association. They did reach out to us. There should be a homeowner association board resolution in your package. They are anxious to be able to have a utility vehicle also with that used analogy for use in their neighborhood, primarily for the maintenance of off-road trails and things that they have within their neighborhood. So that's kind of a big picture. Obviously, I'll take any questions.
Are there any questions for Mr. Lewis?
Mr. Crisco.
Ms. Hanson?
Mr. Lewis, is this just strictly for maintenance, or is this going to be allowing the HOA to just have golf carts on the streets?
According to the resolution from the HOA board, it's for maintenance of the off-road tracks. And they actually, in the resolution, it talks about that they want to be able to actually authorize who's able to. Because some of it's, the folks that live there, but it also could be a contractor. They just can't get to some of these areas with a golf cart. You're welcome.
Please, Mr. Wilmot.
Mr. Chair, in order to amend your Chapter 18, Article 3, which governs utilization of golf carts and utility vehicles on state roads, you'd have to amend that code section.
Correct.
Currently, Chapter 18, Article 3 lists, I believe, 4 subdivisions.
There it is.
But it only authorizes utilization of golf carts on the state roads. So you could amend Chapter 18, Article Roman numeral 3 to include utility vehicles as defined by state code. It would not be limited to HOA authorized vehicles. It would be utility vehicles, period. And you would probably most logically include all of those 4 subdivisions that are currently listed in that code section. So that's the way it's really structured. Is the state code allows but doesn't require that localities designate streets and subdivisions for authorized use of utility vehicles and golf carts. So you have this chapter which by definition, it includes the utility vehicles, but only limits it right now to the golf carts. So Carter's Cove, where I live, allows golf carts. Riverwatch subdivision allows golf carts, but not utility vehicles. So it'd be a very easy amendment, but an amendment to your code requires that you publicize it. So you can't act on it tonight.
Not tonight.
You could limit it to Rivers Watch if you wanted to, or you could extend it to all 4. I reached out to the sheriff to see if he had any concerns with, I have concerns, but that's my problem, because safety concerns, and people who are under 16, who don't have licenses, who drive the golf carts, and people who are drinking, who are driving the golf carts. And I do that, but only on a golf course. So I have concerns, but the sheriff didn't have many concerns. So it's a simple fix. If you'd like me to, I can craft an amendment to Chapter 18, Article 3, to add utility vehicles to the permissive uses in those 4 subdivisions. And I'll do that. And I think that's probably what you want me to do, but if you have any questions, I can answer them.
Would it make it easier for you? And just last month at the Planning Commission, we had somebody call in about low-speed vehicles. Instead of change it from golf carts and utility vehicles to low-speed vehicles.
Well, probably not, because
This is Virginia.
the state code enabling legislation is very specific, and it only says golf carts and utility vehicles.
Correct. Our language is straight out of the state code.
Yeah, it tracks it exactly. So it's not RVs. Correct. We're not talking about RVs and
ATVs.
And ATVs and other acronyms. We're not talking about everything. It's just those defined vehicles.
Just, if you would, look at low-speed vehicles, because it is in the Code of Virginia, and it's limited to 30 miles an hour, 25. That's what I'm saying. It still includes golf carts, but then instead of changing everything, you would just change the low-speed vehicle versus golf carts, which would include the utility vehicles.
The only concern I would have is, as part of this, we're supposed to get a land use permit from VDOT, and they're very specific about what signage you put up in the neighborhood. So at some point, we're going to have to tell them whether it's a golf cart or utility vehicle.
But if it's in Virginia code right now as low-speed vehicles, wouldn't it be easier to change it to low-speed vehicles?
If we could change it in the code, that's up to our county attorney.
To answer your question, no, it would not be easier for me, because all I have to do is add utility vehicles in those 4 subdivisions. So it's like 4 words. So, but I'm going to look at, can we change it, meaning more complicated for me, to low-speed vehicles? But I'm going to do that.
Golf carts, 2 words. Low-speed vehicles, 3 words.
And you only got to write it one, and then it's a 3-letter acronym.
I'm going to put 2 of my best men on it.
May I ask a question? Do you want it to be in all 4 neighborhoods, or do you want, because other neighborhoods may not want that at all in their neighborhood, they just want a golf cart. That's what they came for and asked for, so I'm asking the question, because I'm the one's going to get the call. I could see it both ways. I have no problem with myself or one of my staff, all one of me, to make calls back to the HOAs and ask, we have this on the agenda, do you want to include it or not? Just so we don't have somebody coming here in a month and complaining that if something was approved, they didn't want approved.
I think let's first, because you know, read those numbers, because I can't see them from here.
It's 46.2-908.2. No, 12.1, low-speed.
Article 12.1.
Article 12.1.
Because in a neighboring state, North Carolina has, it's all low-speed vehicles.
Right.
So if you're in the Outer Banks, you can cross the bypass in a golf cart or a UTV. But down there, it has to pass a state inspection, has to have a driver's license, has to have it insured and everything else. So if that's what the state here is moving to, then I don't know if it's going to matter, and VDOT's going to have to get on board with whatever this does.
Right.
So at the end of the day, it may be correcting itself. I would like to have that first, and then we can determine what the other 4 want to do. But this should probably, at least Riverwatch should get their first crack at it as soon as we figure out what we're moving forward to, is my preference.
And I could certainly reach out to VDOT and say, we're talking about the use of low-speed vehicle. How does that come into play with some of what we need to do for you? Because part of our code does require that the neighborhood actually pays for the signage.
Correct.
Mr. Chair, Brian and I will reach out to the other subdivisions and see if they want inclusion of utility vehicles or slow-speed vehicles, because they may have to incur the expenses attributable to the signage. But we will reach out to the other subdivisions, and we'll come back to you in September with options. And then we'll try to move forward in October with an ordinance. How's that?
Yes, Mr. Hudson.
Low speed.
Well, that too. Well, I was a little slow.
Oh, low speed. Oh.
Is that good with everyone? Thanks, sir. Okay. Thank you, Mr. Lewis. We will wait for you to come right back. I don't know why I guess I talked to George at the meeting about this. And so next up we have FEMA FY24 Flood Mitigation Assistance Swift Current Amendment 2 Grant Program. Mr. Lewis.
Yes, we're here tonight just really asking what the board's direction is on our hazard mitigation program. We do have an opportunity to apply for a grant, as you just said, through FEMA that's managed by our Virginia Department of Emergency Management. It is focused, one of the things I think is interesting about this grant is that it actually focused on our repetitive loss and our severe repetitive loss properties. It's not just whoever wants to elevate their home. So I think right now we have about 10 properties that are on the repetitive loss list and one that's on the severe repetitive loss list. We have certainly, some of them have been there for quite a while, so we'll have to actually go back and make sure who the owner is, if they're interested in things of that nature. Basically, there's an application that has to be submitted by August 31st, and then we'll work with, if we're selected to move forward, we'll work with VDEM to get a final one in. So it's really just, we've had pros and cons with our program in the past, so I just wanted to come tonight and see what your interest might be.
We have done a lot to correct that program, and it's been several years since we've applied for any of these because we wanted to get caught back up and make sure we were doing them all correctly and to the best of ability that we could. This also helps with our floodplain rating for the NF5P flood insurance.
Yep.
So I'm in favor of this, but I'll let the other board members discuss or ask questions.
If I may,
yes,
kind of tagging on what you were saying, we are now caught up. We've submitted the final closeout documents from the county to VDEM. They're processing everything, and we're done. So we won't have any other homes that we're looking to elevate, any things of that nature. So.
How long did it take to finalize it, to close the last one out?
You mean from when we first got the grant to now?
From when it first started till now.
The grant was issued, as I understand it, in 2019.
Yep.
So 7 years.
Yeah.
Remember, I've only been here a year and a half, so.
This time.
Yeah, this time. Touche.
But how many homes did we handle with that 2019 grant?
I think at one point there were 7, but I think maybe 4 got completed. The others either sold or got out of the program. But I think we got 4 out of that last one.
What we have seen is, some of the residents, because of the match that's required, some can afford it, some can't afford it. That's kind of the one issue. So sometimes they withdraw out of the program. They want to do it, and then we really get down to, hey, this is going to cost $300,000 to raise your home, and you need to give us a 5% rate match. It's $15,000. So that's one of the issues. Timing became an issue with this last grant.
And I know that the team that works on them, and our county attorney is one of them, it's been difficult for us in the past. The one thing I see with this one that may be a little better is it identifies the 11 homes right up front. So you can address those people, and if they don't want to do it, we just know.
Right.
It isn't like before where we're kind of polling everybody, and you get some that are easy to do, some that are very hard to do. Correct. We know what these 11 are, and we could come back and tell you out of the 11, 3 want to do it.
And this is just going after the grant. It doesn't mean that we'll actually win the grant. So that we get to make that decision again later, and hopefully we could even, since we already know the 11 houses, if we go to apply for this, we can ask, and we may not even have to accept it if those 11 folks go, no, I can't afford it.
100%. This 31st date is just to get almost like a pre-application in, just to show our interest. At any time during the process, if any resident feels uncomfortable, or if you all, I come back and you all feel uncomfortable moving forward, we don't have to necessarily go forward with the park grant.
This will only be for raising homes, not purchasing land like
Correct.
we used to do in the past. So it's a worthwhile program, and I hate it that we haven't been able to participate, but at the same time I wanted to make sure we had everything done that we had for a change, because this is probably the first time since I've been on the board that we don't have one actively in
Right. Yeah.
one of these many grants being actively worked on. So I would like to see us apply if it's okay with the board.
Yeah, so if we got your consensus, we'll go ahead and put the pre-app in. Thank you.
May I add one last thing? You mentioned the acquisitions. FEMA's latest is that every 3 years, we have to go out and take photos of the open space. So that's about 25, 28 properties that over the last month or so, I've had the pleasure of going out and taking photos.
So you have to find a camera that'll date stamp the picture, or do
Yes.
you just?
Yes.
Okay, I was just curious if they we could just save them and just keep sending the same picture.
No. We couldn't even use our GIS one
Yeah,
because
I said
it's a year old.
aerial. They wouldn't allow us in, but pictometry, we get very accurate information for the different parcels. They wouldn't allow us to use any of the aerial data we had. He had to go out and literally take a picture.
So a 35-acre parcel, that doesn't face the street or front the street, it's actually behind the property. I was supposed to take a street view. Now, I did wander across somebody's property with their permission to actually take a view of the property, but yeah, it's just one more thing we have to do.
Wow.
I told you so.
You didn't tell me so. These are all purchased before me. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you. All right, item H, Mr. Wilmot, acceptance of co-ownership interest of property for new fire station.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is really not an afterthought, but it's really dotting our i's and crossing our t's. As everyone is painfully aware, the county and the fire department have joined together in love and unison to build and fund a new fire station on Main Street. And as part of that process, it was required for the funding and the structure and the logistics of it that the county have an ownership interest in the property and the new fire station. So this really officially, legally memorializes the county's acceptance of that co-ownership interest in the property and therefore also in the fire station, at least for the time that it takes to construct that fire station and to fund it, so probably 20 years. The fire station will be operated exclusively by GVFRS, not the county. This is just the legal memorialization of the acceptance of that co-ownership interest. The resolution to do that is on page 168 of your agenda packet.
So moved. Second. We have a motion, we have a second. Is there any further discussion?
Mr. Wilmot, will this be the last time we ever talk about this?
Other than when y'all are at the ribbon cutting ceremony?
Okay, thank you.
Yes, I hope so.
Yeah. Fair question. So we have a motion, we have a second. Any other questions of council or staff? Seeing none, Mr. Baines, would you poll the board?
Yes, sir. Dr. Orth? Yes. Mr. Hudson?
Yes.
Mr. Crisco?
Yes.
Mr. Nicosa?
Yes.
Ms. Hanson?
Yes.
Mr. Bonneville?
Yes.
All right.
Resolution passed.
Very good. Thank you all. All right, next up, we have board appointments. Let me get to my handy dandy sheets here and to... All right, here we go. We have 4 different boards to make appointments to. The first one up is the Chesapeake Bay PEC and Wetlands Board. Ms. Hanson. Do you have anyone?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I would like to put forth Mr. Ron Owens for that position. I've spoken at great length with Mr. Priest, who held that position earlier. I've also spoken with a number of people in the community and the county that have either worked with or done work with Mr. Owens, and he has a lot of experience in this area, and would like to participate on a community level, and I think that he would be an asset to the Wetlands Board, and I'd appreciate the acceptance of his appointment.
Okay, is there a second? Okay, seeing none, we will move to, is there anyone else you would like to propose, or is that it for now?
I would like to point out to the board that I know that there's been some controversy over Mr. Owens. I've discussed this controversy with Mr. Owens, spoken to other people that were involved in that controversy, or their disagreements with some of his decisions when he was actually acting as the county employee. And yeah, I felt like that, even given all that information, that I felt that he would be the best participant or best applicant for this position.
Okay. But he failed to get the second.
Okay.
So with that, we will move to Community Policy and Management Team. Mr. Corky Hogg is desiring reappointment. Is there a motion? Yes. Is there a second? We have a motion, we have a second. Library Board of Trustees, we have a Ware District opening and a York District opening.
Yes, ma'am. Chair, Mr. Chair, I spoke with Ms. Smith. She is eager to be on the library board.
Okay. So we have a motion for Ms. Smith. Is there a second? Second. We have a motion and a second for Ms. Smith. Ms. Hanson, do you have a library board trustee member yet?
No, I do not.
Okay. Then we have Tourism Committee. There are two. Has anyone spoken with either?
Well, the one is chamber voted, the other staff.
My vacancy, what are you looking at here? One staff, okay. Do you want to make that as a motion? For Pam Rowe and Kate Swanson? So we have motion, we have a second. Okay, so we have all three of those duly motioned and seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay. We will move on.
Mr. Crisco, you said three, there are actually four. Corky Hogg, Ms. Smith.
Sorry.
Pam Rowe, and Kate Swanson.
Yes, I meant three boards, not, yes.
Yes, sir.
My apologies.
Thanks.
Next, we move to county attorney items. Mr. Wilmot.
Other than maybe buying a slow-moving vehicle to police the water hydrant usage, I have nothing.
It's a low-speed vehicle.
I know, but I was.
Yes.
I did that on purpose. Yes.
Okay. Next up, boards and commission reports. Supervisor discussion. Dr. Orth.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. We all received a letter from a constituent in my district regarding the flock cameras, and there was a request to have the sheriff come to a meeting to explain.
And he is willing to do so.
Okay, so can we have him on?
He asked if I needed him here tonight, and I said no, because at that time we hadn't received anything.
Right.
So that's fine, we can do that.
To misspell any misinformation and provide.
Correct. And our processes and everything that has to be followed to do so.
Right.
Okay, any other supervisors discussion?
Mr. Crisco, I hate to do this, but I told you I forgot a few things. So the beehive's out. We all see it here, so the public knows the beehive's out. Our CIP's process has started this year. We're starting earlier so the Planning Commission has time to review things. The information was sent out this week. They're due back by the first week of September. We'll get them to the board and to the Planning Commissions we need. And then down at the 911 Center this week through the 14th, our dispatchers over in York County, as we replace the big UPS down there, we've got to shut the power off to the building and run some stuff. So those three things are happening right now also, but we'll be operational the full time. But I forgot to mention those during my comments.
Yes, Commissioner Kosha.
Is it possible, Mr. Chair, that while the sheriff is here discussing the flock cameras, that he could share some information with the public about ATVs and electric bikes. I've gotten a lot of comments from my constituents about concerns of individuals riding ATVs and electric bikes and what's legal and what's not legal. So if the sheriff is coming, could we kind of add that to his
We can do that.
plate?
Yes. Any other supervisor discussion? So, Mr. Wilmot, I'm going to ask you to do something because I know we got the letter from Ms. Mosca and the Clean and Green community stuff, and you have it there. I believe the House Bill 569 only empowers one planning district commission to do that. And I believe that's Planning District 8, which is Northern Virginia. So I don't think, even if we change ours, it pertains to our region as of yet. But can you verify that for me? And they have to report back by November 1 of this year for the Committee on Counties, Cities, and Towns.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Give one each person. That's what she handed out. That's yours.
No. Okay, any other supervisor discussion? There is no closed meeting. With that, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment. We have a motion, we have a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor signify by saying aye. We are adjourned.